My girlfriend of almost 6 years just broke up with me. I met her in middle school and we started dating in 11th grade. I never really had any aspirations in life before that. My family was poor and full of drama and abuse. The only thing that was ever expected of me was failure, and I was okay that. Once her and I became close and eventually began dating, I understood why people wanted to achieve things and be successful. She was so smart and kind. I wanted to make her proud more than anything in the world. I wanted to deserve her. We went to college. She went to the University of Texas for pre-med and I went to the local community college for comp sci so I could be close. COVID hit within our first year and we were forced to move back to our hometown. Her family was generous enough to let me live with them because I didn't want to go back to the abusive and drama-filled house I grew up in. Her family became my family. Her parents treated me like their own child. I decided to work for them at their small fabrication business. So sometimes work-related problems would follow me home. Never anything very serious though. I have to say that those were the best years of my life. Seeing a functional family was unbelievably eye-opening. I don't think I would be the person I am today without that. After COVID died down and schools began holding in-person class, we had to go back. They convinced me to apply to a university in another city and go for a 4-year degree. I was accepted as a student and switched my major to mechanical engineering. So we would soon be living 7 hours apart. At some point during the transition period I became very self-conscious for many reasons. I thought that I wasn't good enough for her. I was scared I would fail in school and I would disappoint her. I was worried that her family thought I was a loser and a charity case. I don't know why really. I was also mad at her for taking the little time we had left together for granted. She planned a few trips with girlfriends for right before the semester started, but we did not plan anything together. I eventually blew up at her in a fit of anger blended with insecurity and depression and told her I want to break up with her. She begged me not to and we didn't. Although, a significant rough patch followed that. But we got through it. When we moved away, it was hard. I called her every single time I got in my car and drove anywhere. But we're both very busy people. I had a nearly full-time job and was a full-time student. She was a full-time student and involved with many orgs. It was hard to make dedicated time for each other. But still, every day, she was what kept me going. The desire to make her proud to be with me. To be able to support our family and get married. It drove me all the way to where I am now. It's now about 2 years ago now that we went long distance. I still call her every time I get in my car. I'm getting through my degree and she's just started med school. I now have 2 jobs and I am a full-time student. I noticed she had become more distant recently, but I assumed it was the stress of med school, so I just tried my best to give her space and be supportive. Tonight, she sent me a text detailing how she had been gradually falling out of love and how she wants to end it here for both our sakes. I called her immediately and we talked for 2 hours. It was civil, with plenty of tears. She told me she's proud of me and she wants the best for me, but that this isn't working. She said she's been feeling this way for a couple months. I still don't understand it. I still love her so much. I feel like my life just fell apart. I have lost my reason why. I've lost an entire family. I've lost my future. My life has been nuked without a single bit of warning. I don't know what to do anymore. Next story 2. My partner doesn't want me discussing conflicts in our relationship with my friends. My partner, who we'll call Jacob, has expressed discomfort in the past about me venting to my friends, or asking them for advice when there's conflict in our relationship. A lot of my girlfriends are older, and have different relationship experiences. I value their insight as much as I value their support. Jacob and I have been seeing each other for about a year and a half now, if not a bit longer. We met at work in early spring of last year. We worked the same position, and often worked together. We're no longer working for the same employer. I've moved on to greener pastures, and I'm now pretty successful in my field. He's left the field entirely, and has had some struggles with work and finding purposeful employment lately. That, along with a number of other issues with how our relationship came to be, have become points of contention. I've often turned to my friends for support when things get difficult, although tonight, Jacob revealed that he'd looked through my phone while I was in the bathroom, and didn't like that I'd contacted my friends about an issue we'd been having conflict over recently. I had reached out, briefly explaining what we were arguing about, and that it had been a really hard few days for me and I could use a break from it all. Both friends I asked offered to meet up with me soon, and because we're all relatively busy people, we've been trying to schedule time to hang out and talk. Anyways, Jacob told me later that he knew I was reaching out to them about our situation, as he'd gone through my phone, and expressed that he didn't enjoy having other people aware of our personal business. I responded by saying that I thought it was healthy to talk with trusted people in my life during periods of struggle, both for support and to provide perspectives I might not have considered yet. I also pointed out that if people hearing about his behavior upset him, he should consider the fact that maybe the behavior was the problem, not my discussion of it. His response was that I wasn't understanding his point, and that I should be able to figure things out on my own. That I need to be able to both self-soothe and self-direct in this relationship. What he's saying makes sense, but for some reason, it still feels off. I've always believed it was normal to vent to friends, and to sometimes get advice and alternate perspectives when it comes to relationships, and honestly just life in general. At the end of the day, I'm still making my own decisions, so I've never really felt it was an unhealthy thing to reach out to and lean on my girlfriends when I'm struggling or hurting. I guess my question is this a healthy or reasonable request on his part? If not, how should I go about refusing it? Comment. It's neither healthy nor reasonable. Having emotional support outside the relationship is vital to your well-being. You're probably not going to like hearing this, but tries to distance you from your friends and prevent you from having support outside the relationship is a massive abuse red flag. It's one of the most typical steps abusers take to isolate their victims and keep them from leaving. Combined with your age gap, I'd be very concerned that there may be other abuse signs you're overlooking. I'd recommend going to loveicerespect.org and taking their love health quiz, to check for other concerning things you might have brushed off. It's not healthy or reasonable. He's embarrassed and you're hurting his pride, and that means more to him than your freedom to have a support network. But in many relationships there needs to be a balance. You absolutely need to be able to seek advice and perspective outside the relationship. Preventing you from having that sort of outside perspective on what is okay or normal can be the isolating tactics of an abuser. Going through your phone is part of that. That said, sure, in a healthy relationship as a partner you hope your partner isn't constantly blowing off steam about you to her loved ones. You want her loved ones to think well of you, and you want your private issues to be private. So sometimes a balance might look like you trying to take some care to only lean on your friends for big issues, or to limit the number of people you go to about relationship stuff, or to rely more on friends who aren't part of the same social circles, or something. But that only works if you have each other's best interests at heart, if he wants you to have the support you need at least as much as you care about his privacy and reputation, and if you trust each other to make reasonable well-intentioned decisions about this stuff. And then separate from all of that, your ages are relevant here. A 31-year-old dating a 20-year-old is often doing so in part because they're inexperienced, naive, and won't call him out on behaviors that women his own age would never put up with. If you're getting good advice from experienced women who call out bullshit when they see it, you're messing up his whole thing of being able to get away with bad behavior. Your relationship started when you were still 18 and he was 29? That's the first issue. I've said in other threads that I don't have a hang up with age, when you are 21. When you're 21, who gives a shit? Date who you want. But, you were barely out of high school dating a grown-ass man. Going to your friends for support is completely normal. There is a reason why people wouldn't want you to reach out to others for support. That support might eventually tell you to leave the person that you are with. Manipulators and toxic people don't like that very much. If they are trusted friends, and you need someone to talk to other than your partner, that's absolutely fine, and he's being controlling. You are allowed to talk to your friends, and so is he with his. You are lucky. I don't have any trusted friends to talk to about some of my personal issues that I've been having. My last friend broke my trust, and then another friend before her. Everyone needs a trusted friend to talk to, we're naturally social beings, even introverts like myself. Sometimes it's good to see someone else's different point of view and hear their advice or just have someone to listen to you. So, don't let him stop you from talking to yours. So he thinks your behavior is a problem but him going through your phone behind your back is no big deal? I'm on your side. If he's embarrassed when others hear about his behavior, the problem is his behavior, not you confiding in your friends. Next story 3. My family won't stop ridiculing me in front of my husband for the things I did to make him notice me and I feel so embarrassed. To give some context, I met my husband when I was in my first year of college because I had moved to my uncle's city to go to college, and since he was my only family member nearby, I spent a lot of time with him and therefore with his friend as well, and I'm gonna be 100% honest, I kind of became obsessed with him in an unhealthy way. I did thousands of things to get his attention, all without success. I spent years trying to make him jealous or stupid things like that, and they were hard years for me because I really was in love, but it was not reciprocated, and my family knew it, and for them me doing humiliating things to get a man's attention was always fun. When I started dating my husband, they told as many jokes about it as they could, and at first I didn't care, but not anymore. Now their jokes make me feel so embarrassed and make me feel like a fool, and I know I deserve it because I was such an idiot when I was young, but I can't turn back time. And I don't want them to make my husband feel bad with those jokes, because they had never said them in front of him until a few days ago. I gave birth 2 months ago, and my husband and I decided that for the first few weeks we wouldn't have anyone in our house because we wanted to spend that time alone with our daughter, so my family didn't meet her until a few days ago, and it was not a pleasant visit at all. They started saying that they couldn't believe my obsession had gotten so far to the point of having a daughter, and even named a couple of things I did to get my husband's attention in the past, and I'm not proud of that, and I don't like being reminded of it all the time, especially in front of my husband. When they said those things, my husband got uncomfortable and tried to talk about something else, but they ignored him and continued making fun of me until I cried, and I know I probably sound pathetic, but I feel terrible when they say that, and I didn't like that my husband was there hearing it all. At that moment I couldn't even tell them anything other than to stop, and fortunately they did, but I don't know how long they will stop. My husband knows the things I did to get his attention, and we often joke about it, and I don't feel embarrassed when we do it because it's just between us, but it makes me feel uncomfortable that my family says it in front of him because it is as if they are treating him like an idiot for having fallen into my trap. And I don't know how to talk to them anymore. I tried so many times that I don't know what else to say. They just think that our story is funny and cute and that I shouldn't get angry. They were always like that with everything. Everything is a joke, even if that joke hurts someone else, and I don't want my daughter to have to go through that, but I don't know if I'm ready to cut them off either. I mean, they're not that bad all the time, and I don't know if I'm ready to stop seeing or hearing about them. Does that make sense? Should I try to save our relationship one more time, or is it time to go no contact? If so, how can you stop feeling bad once you do it? Comment. I feel like the only possible justification for this is if you literally stalked him and your family is trying to warn him off semi-discreetly, because if you want to keep a relationship with them, then you have to be firmer. Let's not talk about that anymore. Don't you get tired of telling that story? Let's talk about something else. That's not who I am anymore. I wish you'd drop it. And if they won't let it go, leave the room or leave the event. If they're in your house, tell them that if they want to keep bringing up the past, they can do it somewhere else. I have a neighbor that's what I would call a toddler. She's about 17 years younger than I am. Both her and her roommate are the same age. I shoot the shit with them whenever we are all outside, and I gotta say, I could never imagine myself dating them. I feel like I'm talking to children. I have to remind them to do stuff with their vehicles, and even bought them a little box of tools because they didn't have anything to hang pictures with. I just couldn't deal off my partner with such a drastic gap. Your family sounds a bit unhinged. But the joke is on them because you have a really nice family unit with your husband and baby. Confession, I once dressed in booty shorts to get the attention of a male roommate, and I'm so embarrassed. It worked, but I was so ashamed of doing that. Having family members that constantly point out your mistakes doesn't make them very supportive and loving. I'd blast an email saying any mention of what I did X, Y, and Z, and we will go low contact or no contact at all. Just zero tolerance. Because that's not the kind of people you need in your corner.